my own silhouette. I'm getting stronger, step by step. The clock is ticking, but there's no time for regrets. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe trying to protect your soul. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Yeah. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Feel like a dynamite, ready to explode right up in the sky. I need you to listen, I need you to hear, and don't show any fear. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe trying to protect your soul. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Yeah. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe trying to protect your soul.
Welcome to the AfterMat, your source for WWE pay-per-view recaps. I am your host, the People's Champ Cal, and alongside me as always, I have my tag team partner, Delisha. What's going on, Delisha?
Hello, hello.
And, and today we're talking about Survivor Series 2019. Was it a good show? I guess stay tuned to find out what we thought about the end, but you know how we usually start out and give a little tease of how we felt about it. What'd you think about the show overall?
They gave me NXT in their matches, so I was a happy camper.
Yeah, it was nice to see a fresh take, because I'm always kind of tired of the Raw vs. SmackDown, so it was nice that they added NXT to it. Was it a planned thing from the beginning? I think so, because some people are saying, it was only happening because the whole Saudi Arabia incident and people getting stuck overseas, but I think they actually advertised this prior to Crown Jewel. So,
Yeah.
Unless Vince knew that there's going to be some problems getting back, I doubt it. But yeah. And welcome, Bobby. How are you doing? Welcome to the show. Give us your thoughts on Survivor Series.
This was the plan from the start. It just they the whole quote unquote invasion angle of NXT just got started sooner than probably was previously planned on. So I think that was supposed to start the following Raw after.
Yeah, I figured too.
but yeah, it still gave us some good. Still gave us actually. I know we got to get into Survivor because it's a long show, but that SmackDown after the show that would not be named was actually one of the better ones they've had since they've been on Fox, and how ironic it is that it's the one that they didn't plan on.
Yeah, what I was going to say about that too is that if you want to hear about the crown jewel, maybe I'll be discussing it and what Delisha talks about at the end when she's going to promote at the end. Actually, we still have another show after this before we talk about that. But if you still want to promote it, you can. We're talking about something else at their next After Talk episode of the season finale, and I might mention the crown jewel on there if they want me to. I probably will forget about it by then, what happened, but it wasn't too bad. It was kind of like, we'll see. But yeah, so without further ado, let's get started. Because as you know, it's one of the big four. So it's going to go a little longer than normal, and that's the bad part about that. So I got to go to bed relatively early. Not as early as I usually like to, but I did get to go to bed somewhat early. So let's get started. The match started. I got to look at my little notes here. The match started out with a cross-brand... let me see what they call it. A cross-brand... No, it's not even listed there. So I think it's on my sheet, actually. Cross-brand tag team battle royal. So I don't know what the rules were. Was it like if one person gets out, then your entire team is eliminated, or both have to be?
Yeah.
Okay, so then if one person gets eliminated, so the teams were represented by NXT having the Forgotten Sons, Steve Cutler and Wesley Blake. NXT also had Fabian Archer and Marcel Barthel representing Imperium. Fandango and Tyler Breeze, Brizongo representing NXT also. So each team had 3 people, I think. Then SmackDown had Grand Metalik and Lindsay Dorado forming the Lucha House Party. Otis and Tucker making Heavy Machinery. And finally, Dash Wilder and Scott Dawson was the Revival. As for the... there's more. And then there's also Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode. And then for Raw, we had Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder. Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows forming the OC. And then I guess we had Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford for the Street Profits. I think the one close part was when I think Dolph Ziggler was about to be eliminated and Bobby Roode grabbed him and like kind of held on for dear life and finally brought him back in. That was pretty interesting. That's some cool eliminations that you'd expect from like the high flyers. Other than that, at the end we had Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode squaring off against the Street Profits, and finally I think Montez Ford was thrown out by Robert Roode. And your winners and giving the first point of the evening to SmackDown were Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode for the 10-team Interbrand Tag Team Battle Royal. So yeah, that was a mouthful, but that's what happened. I mean, I didn't really watch it that hardcore in the beginning because I thought it was like, I don't know, Battle Royals are always,
Tricky.
Yeah. And I'm doing well, Slater. How are you doing, Bobby? And he's asking you, Delisha, as well. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for asking.
All right, so I think the next few matches Delisha's covering because there are 10 matches, so we covered 5 each, and it just happened to be like, I usually try to cover the people I like and let Delisha cover the people she likes, so it kind of happened to be like stacked in weird stuff. Here we go.
I mean, I don't mind. I mean, yeah, but the battle royal was fine.
Yeah.
Nothing that really blew the socks off, so to speak. Although I will say, Montez doing that, like, I don't know if it was a frog splash or whatever, but he had an extended leap. From almost sort of like halfway across the ring, but it was pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
And actually, when he tried it before, he got knocked down, but he was able to catch himself like on the rope, so that's pretty cool to really show his athleticism. And they really gave Dawson some like strength, some strength points because he was taking a lot of what Roode was bringing out. Because they gave them probably like a good 3 minutes of just those 2 teams going at the end, so that was pretty cool to see. And then after that,
the next match was your Cruiserweight Championship match, which was NXT represented by Lio Rush, Raw represented by, I think it's Akira Tozawa. I always mess him up with Hideo Itami. And SmackDown represented by Kalisto. So this is Alicia's thing. And I think now, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's no more 205 Live, and this Cruiserweight is part of the NXT? Is that what it is? Okay, yeah.
Because I was actually confused because I haven't watched 205 in like 3 months because it's too much hours of wrestling going on right now. But I do know that they were on NXT because I remember that announcement. But I had forgotten when they had this match because I'm just so used to it being 205 being on the pre-show. But then when Lio Rush comes out, he is announced as the NXT Cruiserweight Championship. So it's pretty neat. I mean, they've been doing... I think they are better showcased on that NXT brand because they're... they can get more I guess, gritty, so to speak, and the crowd is more into them than the, I guess, the sort quote unquote mainstream crowd. But either way, here we had mostly it seemed to be the narrative of whether Leo Head's rush was in the game, so to speak, because he's so focused on uh I think it's Angel Garza on also it was in the running for the NXT Championship title reign. So that kept being the narrative when it I really felt like it should have been more about this match. That was just a little nitpick for me from the commentators, because it didn't seem like Leo Rush was acting as if he was his head wasn't in the game because he was really like full of fiery passion like he almost normally is. So them kept putting that in the viewer's mind didn't quite make sense to me. But as far as the triple threat matches go, especially with these three guys, it's going to be more like high flying action, like we see or saw Leo Rush doing a double like Spanish fly off the top rope. Um, we saw Kalisto hit Tozawa with like his Salida del Sol. Um, and then we had Rush coming in off the apron, so to speak, to do a frog splash to hit Kalisto with his sorry, hit Kalisto, and then with the final hour from the top rope to get that pin for the win to one regain his championship and also give NXT the W on this one to give them a point. Cal, were you able to see this match on the card?
I just was watching in the background. I saw people flying around a lot. So and the funny thing is, I love WCW like luchadors and all that, and the cruiserweight division. So I might go back and watch this match because this sounds really entertaining from what you said, and some of these moves sound really cool. So I'd probably have to go back and watch it. But yeah, that was. These are like always one of my favorite matches of cruiserweight. So I don't know why I didn't watch it more closely. That's probably the intense Fortnite match or something.
It's
But
because
yeah,
it's a pre-show. You're already
yeah.
pre-programmed to not quite pay attention.
But like I said, I feel like this card was very good. And delivered. I think, in my opinion, but that we'll talk about that at the end. But yeah, so now we have after two matches, we have 1 point SmackDown, 1 point NXT. Also, if in the chat, if you guys for a second any information wrong, our normal fact checker Joe isn't here, so feel free to correct us in the chat. The next match was your Intercontinental Triple Threat. Or let me see what they call it. Champions Triple Threat Tag Team match, which featured the Viking Raiders, Eric and Ivar, representing Raw as the Raw Tag Team Champions, the New Day, Big E, and Kofi Kingston representing SmackDown as the Tag Team Champions, and the Undisputed Era represented by Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly representing the NXT Tag Team Champions. I think Felicia's doing this one as well.
Yep. This one I remember in the beginning thinking, I don't know who they're giving the win to because I didn't know. I was in my thing. I was like, I don't know who needs it more. Because one in my mind, I was like, you want to showcase the Viking Raiders still being strong. And I was like, but then you got the so quote unquote newcomers of an Undisputed Era, and I was like, well, the New Day could probably take a pin as the ones being the more seasoned veterans and people love them anyway. So like going into this match, I was like, I don't know who's going to win, and that's what kind of made me excited that I couldn't find it like predictable on who's going to win. Um, maybe I had been paying attention closely and knowing the points, I might have been like, oh, maybe Raw might get it to make it even. But they did showcase Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish taking out trying to take out the Viking Raiders off the apron as soon as possible so they can go after the New Day, in which they did sort of isolate Kofi a lot, especially on his knee. I can't remember if he actually had like injury on that beforehand, but they did seem to be targeting that quite a lot throughout the match. Um, and then they hit. I think they hit Cody. Cody. Wow, Kofi with their total elimination, which is like a double kick from the top and the bottom. If people didn't know that for the ring, to eliminate him out the ring, and then the Raiders wound up doing the same to Big E with their like springboard German suplex tag team. So then it did come down to Undisputed Era versus Viking Raiders, which was pretty cool because I don't think these two weren't on the same card, I don't think, during their times in NXT. So it was pretty cool to see them face off with each other, and then I believe it's Ivar, who is one of their like athletic big men. I mean, they're both pretty athletic and pretty quick with it, but I think Ivar is the one who like really shined. Um, to where they tried to do the total elimination on I think it was Ivar, and he just cartwheeled out
Yeah,
of it, which was pretty good, cool. Into when he did the little flip onto the ropes to spring back to the double shoulder. I'm gonna call
yeah,
it clothesline, even though I don't think that's
like
what it's.
handspring back elbow.
Yeah, thank you. Just a back elbow. Um, and then I believe Eric slammed Ivar onto Bobby Fish, I think, to get the pinfall, and then Viking Raiders get that 1 point for Raw, which was again when
Even
going into it, I wasn't expecting who to win, but I thought that was pretty cool the way that they actually did get to showcase each team's strengths, which they don't always do in tag team matches, but I guess because the stakes were so high, they wanted to make sure that each brand looked strong. Creative.
yeah, they went into pre-show after they want to come out of pre-show with that 1-1-1, so like it was even, like, and then there was like some suspense built up, though you wouldn't know. But yeah, this match was entertaining, really entertaining. Like, I was gonna actually ask you like how these guys faced off against each other in NXT, but you answered my question throughout.
I don't recall them doing so.
I know the Raiders came back for one more match, right? Or was it Ricochet and Alistair coming back to face the Viking Raiders? Whatever it was, somebody came back and had a match on NXT to face each other. And I'm pretty sure Viking Raiders were involved in it. But yeah,
Well, I know they when after they debuted on Raw, they had to come back and essentially lose the tag team championships at some point, or I think actually they might have relinquished them. One
yeah,
of
I
the
think they
two, but they
relinquished
did go
it.
back.
But yeah, that spot with, I don't know, I think you said it was Ivar or whatever, with
Hmm.
the cartwheels. That was great to watch. I was like, whoa, whoa! I love watching like those kind of, like, like I said, like the lucha stuff. Um, it's always fun watching that. But yeah,
I'm
this is
about to
a
say
fun match.
foreshadowing of big men getting the job done throughout the
Yeah,
whole card.
and if you
So
watched the NXT last night before that, like, I think Keith Lee was more. He's one of my favorites from NXT. He was more spotlighted in the War Games than he was last night in Survivor Series, in my opinion, because he did a lot of crazy stuff, like his double like leapfrog that he does and all that
we'll
stuff.
talk about it, but he had his
Yeah,
moments.
yeah. So we're gonna go to the next match, which I think you're covering as well. So let me get my list of things out so I can read it properly. Here we go. So we have our first, now to kick off the show, the actual Survivor Series. We have our 5-on-5-on-5 Women's Survivor Series Triple Threat Elimination Match. Team NXT is represented by Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Candice LeRae, Io Shirai, and Toni Storm. Team Raw is represented by Charlotte Flair, Natalya, Asuka, Kairi Sane, Sarah Logan, and then Team SmackDown is represented by Sasha Banks, Carmella, Dana Brooke, Lacey Evans, and Nikki Cross. Now, correct me if I'm wrong before you get into the match. I thought this when I looked at I was watching the screen and I thought to myself, I'm like, let me ask Alicia tomorrow because she'll know better. Is everyone in this picture? You can actually look at the picture right here. Is everyone in this picture NXT except for Natalya?
Even she was on NXT.
Oh, she was. No, but like she didn't come through at NXT. I mean,
That's
like,
true. That's true.
I mean, everyone in this picture came through NXT. Is what
Yeah.
I should have said,
Yeah.
or is currently in NXT.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So what if they all just turned on her?
That would have been fun. Yeah, but
Hey, Goku,
but
welcome.
yeah, I will say Natalia did have a good amount of screen time in the beginnings of televised NXT matches, especially her matches with Charlotte Flair. So they all have a history with NXT. It was pretty funny. Actually, I noticed that in one of the brawls on, it was either one of the Raws or SmackDowns last week, that the majority of people in the ring had come through the NXT system. So I was like, this is pretty funny, guys. Um, but yeah, this one, I mean, I was a little nervous about because, as we all know, once we in any situation when we get m- much like the battle royal, when we have multiple people in a ring, things can be lost in focus. But I do feel like they did a good job throughout the match to showcase um each and every one here. I believe it was Io and Candace um who were taken out from the match due to an injury. So NXT was down a few. Um yeah, I was trying to look at my notes, but it's not in order for some reason, and I don't know why. So I'm just going to go across with some highlights. Like as far as like which I don't quite understand, but I guess we'll get a explanation of that tonight, is Asuka turning on Charlotte. I mean, I get Asuka is supposed to be a heel, but she gave her the green mist because I believe Asuka tagged herself in, if I remember correctly, or the other way
Yeah.
around, and they didn't like that. As with every Survivor Series, there's always one or two team members who don't get along. So that's like a prerequisite of we have to fight in the match. We can't just save this for another time to win us the match. Apparently, that's just beyond everyone's frame of mind. So we did have Asuka turning on Flair, giving her the green mist to her book it out, and then Asuka left. And I believe it was Belair who got the pin on her. And they also, I think, and they also gave her another pin on, I
I
believe
can
it might
go.
have been, sorry.
I can go through the list right now. You're up to Charlotte being eliminated.
I think so, because that was one of the highlights of her getting
Okay.
green misted.
Yeah. So the first person eliminated was Nikki Cross. She was eliminated by Bianca Belair by a pinfall. Sarah Logan eliminated by Bianca Belair by a pinfall. Carmella eliminated by Charlotte Flair by a pinfall. Kairi Sane eliminated by Sasha Banks by a pinfall. Dana Brooke eliminated by Asuka by a pinfall. Charlotte Flair eliminated by Lacey Evans by a pinfall.
Right, okay, right.
And then Asuka was counted out.
Right. Oh yeah, because and speaking of Lucy, I know that was probably one of the weakest women's rights she's ever given. Um, and I don't understand why, because she had all this time to be set up anyway. But then after that, we had Natalia pinning Lacey,
Right.
and then I believe it was then Natty. I think this might have been the point where Natty was left on her own versus Tony Storm for NXT, Ripley, and Belair was still left, and then we had Banks being represented for SmackDown. Um, I believe Tony was put in a double submission of of the sharpshooter and the Banks statement, giving her the tap out, and then quickly both of Natty and Banks getting the drop on Belair with a I don't know what you would call like this sort of double team mover where Natty had her hoisted up while Sasha gave her like a clothesline. And
No,
so
that was a heart attack. That was the Jin the Neidhart and Bret Hart
okay,
move.
okay.
That's why they did that.
Sorry, my young brain is showing today.
It's a tribute to Jin the Neidhart.
I should have known that, knowing it was Natty. So that was two quick back to back NXT eliminations to make it all one with Natty, Banks, and Ripley, the team captain of NXT. And then lo and behold, we had Sasha and Banks looking like, Sasha and Natty looking like they were going to done with Team Ripley, but then Sasha uh
Turns on Natalia.
yeah, did she do a roll up? I feel like it was just a roll up for
Might have been, yeah.
Natty to get her out. So then we get a one-on-one with Ripley and Banks. And we didn't then lo and behold we get the return of Candice LeRae and Io who were carried out because of injury, but I guess couldn't come back on the ring apron, I presume, because they act as if this was just like a one-on match and they were interfering. So where we had Candice LeRae distracting the ref while Io attacks Banks from the top rope to then have Rhea Ripley give her the Riptide, which is her finisher move, to get the pin to give NXT another win. Again, I didn't understand why Io and Candice couldn't just be back on the ring apron.
Well,
but
according to this, it says that they were still the survivors. So the final survivors are Rhea Ripley, Candice LeRae, and Io Shirai.
oh, all right. So I guess in a way they weren't quite interfering. Well, interfering to an extent, but still not being like not part of the match. But it was just kind of weird. It still worked, although although um Io Shirai and Candice had a bitter rivalry on NXT, but we're just best friends on Survivor Series. It, I mean, it was fine because of what they were trying to do, but it was just like you guys are best friends who turn to each other and supposedly hate each other. But I just thought that was interesting. But yeah,
Yeah, so now we're standing at 2 points NXT, 1 point Raw, 1 point SmackDown.
yes,
It was a good match. I enjoyed it. Like I said, that time wasn't really much mistakes or anything, but when we get to the final match with the women, there was a lot of like it was very like I always I always say like we were talking before with this more than a certain amount of people we have those mistakes and stuff and it gets kind of sloppy. But this match was very well done. I don't think there was anything like that sloppy throughout it. But when we get to the main event, I felt there's kind of some like really far punches that connected, and like bad roll ups and bad all that kind of stuff. It was pretty thing. Um,
I think this was the one match where I had a feeling that NXT could or would get a win. Mainly because their women's card is just so much more stacked than the other two.
yeah.
Um, just in my opinion, I do feel like it's straight facts, but it's all still my opinion. Um, but yeah, I really enjoyed the match and the fact that all of them got showcased pretty well. I thought they
Yeah,
did
that was
a
very well
good job
done.
with that.
That also Slater says doesn't Asuka's green mist look green? Her green mist looks probably the worst I've ever seen. Tajiri's was good. Tajiri's was more guttural. It felt like you see him like you see him like kind of like he like grabbed his throat and like spewed it up. It was like more like guttural, like I think. But the Great Muta back in the day had a very good fine mist that looked great. It looked so beautiful. But yeah, Asuka's looks disgusting, especially with the veins that come out of her face and all that, and her lipstick. It looks crazy. It's very well done.
Yeah.
All right.
And I'm pretty sure that's her purpose because she wanted to put her stamp
Yeah.
on the green misting.
So now we are 2-1-1 in favor of NXT. The next match features our, let me see what they call it. They all have fancy names. I don't want to get it wrong. Our Champions Triple Threat match. In this case, we have Roderick Strong representing NXT, being the North American champion. AJ Styles representing, I think, Raw, maybe? Is he Raw? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Raw with the U.S. title. And Shinsuke Nakamura representing SmackDown alongside Sami Zayn, holding the newly minted Intercontinental Champion. It looks pretty okay, but I still love the old white belt. That's back more nostalgic for what I loved back in the day. But this match was great. This is what I want to see from Shinsuke and AJ in the WrestleMania that like lacked, and every other match that lacked after that. This was like Shinsuke really, really shined in this. He had his strong style on display to the fullest, and it was great to see. Like, he was mostly in the match. Like, he was just taking out AJ and Roderick. I never really saw, like, any of Roderick and AJ really fight. They were just getting destroyed by Shinsuke, from what I saw, from what I remember. Then there's a time, AJ comes back and takes over, like he normally does. And Roderick Strong was, I think, outside the match the whole time, pretty much. I mean, he did hit some great suplexes and stuff, and, like, he takes great bumps. Like, Roderick, I don't know anybody who takes better bumps than Roderick Strong in NXT, from what I watch. You could throw him off like a ladder. He's like the new Jeff Hardy, but like Jeff Hardy purposely jumps off. But I think Roderick will, they'll be like, "Hey Roderick, today we're gonna throw you off the top of the building that was like on like into a bucket full of tacks that are on fire." He'll be like, "Okay, I'll do it." Like he's that kind of guy. It seems like he's up for anything. And yeah, he's just a great wrestler. So this match was like really a dream match to watch. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, Shinsuke was finally like showcased his talent and his strong style and all that was showcased, and then him and his AJ's like counters, like they had like the spin and like kick and like duck and like the other spin kick duck and like clothesline duck and back elbow duck, and like they also had that exchange with Roderick Strong as well. These were all great moments that I've wanted to see from Shinsuke and AJ for a while. From all those people who watch New Japan and tell me about all that great stuff they did there and all that kind of stuff. That we finally saw for the few minutes that we saw in here. And Roderick Strong just always brings his best. He cares so much. He puts so much heart and soul into everything. So it was a great match to watch. I think it ended with I think what's his face? Shinsuke went for might have hit the Kinshasa on Roderick, and then AJ came in and a little bit. Well, like him and AJ had a little back and forth, and then AJ did the phenomenal forearm and hit Shinsuke, and then Roderick came back in, threw AJ out of the ring, and pinned Shinsuke Nakamura. So Roderick Strong won, and that gave the NXT a 3-1 advantage. But this is one of the better matches. You should go back and watch this because it was really showcasing Shinsuke, which I was been waiting for a long time to see. And now that he has a mouthpiece, it's okay. It's a lot better, but still, it was really fun. Like I really enjoyed this match. I always enjoy AJ Styles matches. I just had been let down with his feud with Shinsuke because of how the low blow thing happened and all that kind of stuff, and hearing so much about how great it was back in the day that I was let down. But I finally got to see it like what I expected from the WrestleMania match in this match. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Again, when you put these three in the match or put their names in the match, I figured, okay, this really should be good, and they really delivered on all the styles of each competitor because we have Shinsuke with the strong style, Broderick with his more technical wrestling, and AJ who can get technical but he can be a high flyer when need to be. So I really thought they all like really complement each other really well. Um, yeah, this is one of those matches again I didn't know how it can go because on the one hand you're like, oh, they're gonna give AJ the win, but you're like, oh man, Shinsuke really needs a win. They're like, do they really care about Roderick in this situation? So it really could have gone either way. Actually, just shocked me that they gave it to NXT. At this point, I was like, whoa, they're gonna let NXT. They're letting NXT get the upper hand here. And I'm like, oh, does this mean one of the other two brands going to come back for a comeback story from behind? But I was like, oh yeah. But all in all, I really enjoyed this match. Yeah, I think all three of them did a really good job.
I really think Shinsuke deserved to win this, and SmackDown get another point. But Roderick Strong won underhandedly. That's the point. He did it he didn't really beat them. He beat them by winning the match, but he didn't beat them. You know what I mean?
Right.
So. Right. It was underhanded tactics, which is what you expect from a heel faction. Yeah, so
although they technically right at this point of their stories, are they all heels?
Yeah, they're all heels. Oh, all of them. Yeah. But Shinsuke really, I really think he deserved it.
They're all heels. They're all heels that the fans love to cheer.
Yeah.
Although I do think they might be shifting the tide a little bit for Shinsuke because they have him in they've been. I think last week they put him not face to face, but in some backstage stuff with Corbin, which the fans actually despise. Yeah. So I don't know if he'll remain a true heel for long, but we'll see.
Maybe it's a new title that's giving him this passion. I don't know. All right, that brings us to our next match, which is the NXT Championship title match with their champion Adam Cole defending against Pete Dunne, the Bruiserweight as they call him. I don't really know much about Pete Dunne. I watched some of his matches on NXT UK takeovers, and as well as sometimes he was on NXT. I think one of the NXTs we went to, he was there. I just know his move that he takes your fingers and splits them in thing. But he does some he's kind of like a cruiserweight, but he does more suplexes that side. That's why he's the Bruiserweight, I guess. And he does I guess he does strong style, right? I think he does strong style.
Yeah, for like an English strong style, yeah.
And Adam Cole, I'm a huge fan of. I love his work. I love his work ethic. Oh wait, yeah. Let me go back to the match with Roderick Strong. You know how every Undisputed Era has their boom that they do. So Adam Cole goes like this and he goes boom.
I forgot to mention that.
Roderick Strong goes the boom. And he got down to do it, and they cut the music. He's like, "What? They're not doing it!" And I was like, "Boo!" Because this was a heavy NXT crowd. Because when NXT's been coming and when Adam Cole's had a match on Raw and he did the boom, you don't hear the audience go boom like they're used to. But when when you watch them on NXT, you hear that boom, you hear them. So now I've been watching NXT more because it's been on.
They dipped them because let Fish and O'Reilly do it. Adam Cole, of course, they're gonna let him do it. I was like, what? It was an extra 5 seconds.
I know.
But I don't know if that was a miscue or if it was on purpose or to make AJ sound like a total dick.
Yeah, I don't know. But they still pop for AJ because AJ, they like his music when he comes out.
Yeah, but I forgot to because it was the I was like, oh man, But yeah, that was funny.
I
Okay,
mean, this
back
match
to
was
baby.
great, great back and forth action as expected. Both great in ring technicians and mat specialists. But some of the big highlights was the what do you call it, Panama Sunrise or something it's called, on the apron. He did it on the apron. So Adam Cole jumped off. It's basically a Canadian destroyer. But he jumps onto the guy's head first and then flips him and does it. And did it onto the apron on Pete Dunne, which is crazy. I didn't expect to see that. Pete Dunne did his normal finger break thing. He did a lot of, basically his strong style. And he hit a suplex once, but I think Adam Cole kicked out. Later on, he went for the suplex again. I don't know what his finisher's called, but he went for it again. Adam Cole reversed it into another Panama Sunrise, followed up by his running knee to the back of the head, and he got the 1, 2, 3 and retained his thing. Man, Undisputed Era is really just holding on, and I like seeing that. Like, it's cool. It's like the old school, like when Evolution had like all the titles, and like I think at one point DX had all the titles, or like no, it was like I think it was like Triple H and somebody else had all the, like, both of them had, like, I think Triple H and maybe Chris Jericho, and they were in a faction together. They had like all the titles too. Like, it's kind of
Shield.
cool. Yeah, so it's kind of cool to see that they do that. Like, I like seeing that, like showing the strong, and Undisputed is just really. Unfortunately, they lost the last two take War Games, but like they still look great. Like they still come out on top because their character and their bond and stuff. That was a good match.
I don't understand how Adam Cole was still walking.
Yeah, that was a crazy bump. And the funny thing is that they showed Britt Baker on the thing looking scared after it, and like Maura Ranallo mentioned her. Oh, there's his girlfriend Britt Baker, which was like,
Yeah.
they were supposed to do that, but that was cool. Like, she was really concerned because that was a crazy bump. But Tommaso Ciampa protected him. He did a good job. He protected him. So
Yeah, he
well
definitely held his elbow like under his head, like gripping it so hard. But yeah, this match was, of course, again, when I see these two names on the card, I'm like, oh, this is going to be a good match. And having seen these two work, like just seeing them, how these two work, like individually, I knew them two coming together was going to be a really good match. I really do enjoy Pete Dunne. He's so young, but well, not, I guess not so young. I think he's like 26, but still young, and just so super talented. And Adam Cole, I wasn't the biggest fan of him in the beginning, mainly because I didn't know who he was, and but now having to have was it a year or two with him, I'm definitely on the Bebe train. Um, he's a star. They're I feel like Pete Dunne is a legit up and coming star, but Adam Cole is a star.
Yeah, I mean, we were there at his debut, so it was kind of like everyone knew who he
Yeah,
was except
but
for us, I guess.
again, neither one of us knew who he was.
Everyone did the chant and all that. I'm like, what is going on? And Joe was like super excited when Fish and Riley came out. Riley came out. That was cool. So, but yeah, this was a great match. So it's good that they also showcased NXT by itself on the card. So that was cool, like seeing that.
Oh, yeah, and if anyone in chat can help us out, we weren't sure. We know this was the first time NXT Championship has been showcased on the main card pay per view, but me and Cal weren't sure this is the first time there was an NXT match on the main pay per view card. I think it was the first for both, if I'm not mistaken. But someone let us know in the chat if this was the first NXT match to be featured on a quote unquote main card pay per view. Although right now they're showcasing them as equal brands nowadays. So good on the next team.
The next match featured the Universal Champion representing SmackDown with a blue belt, The Fiend, against Daniel Bryan.
This one, I wasn't sure what we were gonna get, to be honest, because this one came about somewhat kind of quickly, even though it has been the last 2 or 3 weeks that they've been like preparing for this match. So we had the Fiend. Uh, sorry. Getting out to the ring. I go hard for his entrance so much because we don't get it like every week like we do everything else. But I love his entrance and his entrance music so much. I get like, oh, let's go. I want to do a sort of mosh pit, even though I've never been in one, so probably not a good idea. Um,
They are
so
brutal.
So it was a lot of actually back and forth. To be honest, it was pretty much similar to the Seth Rollins match, cage match. Well, without the weapons, to where Daniel Bryan was giving it everything he got, but the Fiend just kept taking it and standing back up. We even got a Daniel Bryan like yes chant, which he hasn't done in over a year.
Yeah.
I actually can't remember if he did the yes. I don't think he actually did a yes chant. The fans were doing it, and he kind of was like getting
Oh,
revigorated through it.
he did do that in the corner before his flat running knee. So
Right. Okay. Because I think my head was down, but I kept hearing the yes chants, but they do that anyway, so I wasn't paying attention at that part. Um, but yeah, there was a bunch of yes kicks and drop kicks, and I think he did like four drop kicks on Wyatt, but he kept getting up. While also like like we used to say with Finn's demon that I guess when it's the fiend the strength levels go way up,
yes,
power levels. Um, but as everyone else has done, we initially get um Daniel Bryan has to come to the mandible claw, which he like forcibly put him on the mat to get that 1, 2, 3 finish, which was actually pretty cool because usually they you would give him a Sister Abigail and that would finish the match, but the fact that they were doing it the mandible claw to where he's like forcibly shove you onto the mat to where you get the 1, 2, 3, I thought that was a different way of going about it, so I kind of like it. Although what I don't like is this red lighting. Can we get rid
yeah.
of it,
It's
please?
like, well, what happens if the Fiend faces Sin Cara? Is it gonna be purple lighting, red versus blue, or is half of it's gonna be red, half of it's gonna be blue? Like, they used to have. If you remember the old Batman show, with Adam West, Powers and Boom, whenever they had Mister Freeze and Batman went to like meet him for dinner one time, like they had half the room blue and half the room red because like Batman had to stay in warm temperature and Mister Freeze had to stay in cold temperature, and like then like to like entrap him, like he kept making smaller squares and like Batman could only stay in a small area because everything else was frozen. Because he made it was really funny back in the day. But one bad thing about this match, I think it for Fiend's character is that why does he talk? Like he was like talking to Daniel Bryan. Like I didn't like that. Like I think he should
Oh,
just
I was
he
like
should,
he was talking. Oh, okay.
yeah
Probably
no
I
he.
didn't
He, no,
physically hear it.
no, he was like he's like oh I told you like he was saying stuff like that. Like why is he saying that? Like I
Yeah,
just think
that's true.
he should just be like
I'm
demonic and just
silent.
like there. He can grunt and stuff, but don't be and like laugh and like growl, but don't like talk to him. Like that was kind of stupid in my opinion, but whatever. Other than that, yeah, the red lighting's kind of weird. I think we're stuck with that until his.
I
think
wouldn't
when
mind
his
it.
mask.
Like we can keep it as he's coming up, but I mean it looks cool. But as far well, one for people in the audience, it may not be as cool because I
Like we
haven't
can't
physically been
see,
in the
we can't
audience
see
when the
it.
red lights out there. But I wish they would do it how they were doing it in the beginning of the season, so to speak, and how NXT do it, where you just black out the crowd and have the soft lighting spotlight
Yeah.
on the ring. I feel like that would be a little bit better. I mean, it's an easier visual to follow the match on. That's it.
I think when Kane first came, like they had it all red for a while, then they got rid of it. So maybe that'll happen. I think the way that they might do it is like I was talking to Sidewalk about this. It's like how do you beat him if he's like getting up from like chair shots and he's getting up from sledgehammer shots and all that kind of stuff. I think the power's in his mask. So I think when the mask comes off, like he's gonna be a normal person. He'll be Bray Wyatt, right? And when the mask comes off, I think the lights will go white,
Hmm.
and then he'll be like vulnerable to be pinned. Like you can actually beat him. Like he'll
Okay.
become like
Oh,
a
you
normal.
don't think they're setting up to have Finn Balor come back with the demon?
Well, yeah, maybe that like okay, maybe a demon could beat him, the Fiend, right? And he's especially because he's the Demon King, so I guess he could beat the Fiend, right? But like I'm saying, if a normal person has to beat him, I think they have to take the mask off, and that'll make the lights go white, and he'll be Bray Wyatt, and then he'll be like succumb, like with the mask on, he's like an Undertaker at WrestleMania prior to Brock Lesnar.
Hmm.
After that, he's like Undertaker against Goldberg, awful like that. Not that bad though. But yeah, so don't make him talk, and then use that idea, and then you can send me money, and I'll give some Sidewalk as well.
We need to copyright
Yeah,
this episode immediately.
and like mine and Sidewalk's conversation because we did talk about that kind of stuff when we text each other about this. All right, so the next match is our traditional Survivor Series match. I could not get the image because they hadn't announced the NXT people until the day of the show and the pre-show, but it was the 5-on-5-on-5 Survivor Series Triple Threat Elimination Match. Team SmackDown represented by Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman, King Corbin, Mustafa Ali, and Shorty G, Chad Gable, against Team Raw represented by Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, and Ricochet, against Team NXT represented by Tommaso Ciampa, Damian Priest, Matt Riddle, Keith Lee, and Walter. Walter is a member of Imperium, in case you don't know, from NXT UK. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think Walter's ever lost yet, right? Like, he's won. He's on, like, his undefeated streak, right?
I believe so, because yeah, I think I've
He's a
mentioned that,
champion.
because
He's like, I think he's NXT
especially
UK.
if not, especially since he's been the champion for sure. But I do think before then, I think he's been
No, I don't
undefeated.
think he's lost because he came in to. I remember watching that match. I think it was Cardiff or whatever it was. Walter versus Pete Dunne, and they said that Walter's never lost. I think it was. Um, anyway,
One.
with that said, Walter was the first one eliminated by Drew McIntyre, and the crowd went nuts. It's actually funny because Walter broke character. I don't know if anybody noticed this, but Walter broke character because at the beginning everyone was screaming for Walter, and he laughed and he smiled and turned to like Matt Riddle and was like, "Can you believe this?" Like it was so
Right.
funny seeing
I
it.
mean, it's a big moment for them
Yeah.
because this is their first really big pay-per-view to be on. Because before that they've only been at Takeover, which is still big for them, but it
Yeah.
is so of course Survivor Series being one of the big four is it's a way bigger crowd. I'm pretty sure, and so I'm pretty sure it was just a moment of just taking it in like shit.
Yeah.
These people really love me.
Oh yeah, before we do that, we should probably mention that it's currently 2, right? No, it's 3 points NXT, 1 point Raw, 1 point SmackDown.
Yes.
Okay, so now with that said, Walter was the first one eliminated by Drew McIntyre, much to the chagrin of the fans,
He did
by
not
pinfall.
like that.
That was followed by Shorty G, eliminated by Kevin Owens via pinfall. Kevin Owens then was eliminated by Tommaso Ciampa via pinfall. Then Damian Priest was eliminated by Randy Orton via pinfall. Randy Orton was then rolled up by Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle was then eliminated by King Corbin via pinfall. Braun Strowman was counted out because he kept doing his stupid run around the ring and hitting people. And I don't know why he skipped Seth Rollins
Technically,
at one
that
time.
wasn't why he was counted
Oh yeah,
out.
then he was hit by Keith Lee, stopped by Keith Lee by a body splash, then Claymored by Drew McIntyre on the outside, then he was counted out. Okay, there we go with that. Then we had Ricochet eliminated by King Corbin via pinfall. Oh, and during this whole time, we're having King Corbin having dissension amongst the ranks with the rest of Team SmackDown, I should say, such as
Mainly Roman, but yeah, all of them.
yeah, but he also did it with Mustafa Ali and Shorty G also. So Ricochet was eliminated by King Corbin. Mustafa Ali was eliminated. Oh, Mustafa Ali, hometown boy, Chicago representing, was eliminated by Seth Rollins. Drew McIntyre was then eliminated by Roman Reigns. King Corbin was then eliminated by Tommaso Ciampa after being Superman punched by Roman Reigns. Tommaso Ciampa was then eliminated by Seth Rollins via pinfall. Seth Rollins was then eliminated by Keith Lee via pinfall. And then finally, Keith Lee was eliminated by Roman Reigns after a Superman punch and spear via pinfall, leaving the proper terminology sole survivor, because there's only one there, Roman Reigns, and a victory for SmackDown. There weren't really any crazy highlights besides like Braun Strowman running around the ring like an idiot, some of the great RKOs, Matt Riddle rolling him up. I didn't really remember anything great other than that. You know, the Kevin Owens stunner was good to see. Mustafa Ali didn't really get to do anything crazy. Ricochet didn't really get to do anything crazy.
Besides his get up.
Yeah.
So was it Batman Beyond?
I don't know what it was, but he also, I think he tried to do the 450, but he laid down his feet sort of and rolled through. They did have that one great moment. I think it was like they should have had Ricochet, Mustafa Ali, and like maybe Keith Lee in the ring. I think that would have been cool. Like all of them are very mobile. As you guys don't know who Keith Lee is, check him out. Don't sleep on him, bro. He's like a 700-pound dude, but he moves around like a 100-pound dude. So go check him out. No, he's not really 700 pounds, but he's a big dude.
Go check him out.
Yeah,
and bask in his glory.
Yes. He is amazing. Keith Lee is probably one of my favorite. Besides the Undisputed Era, Keith Lee is one, and you know now Finn Balor's in NXT, but I mean like true NXT guys at the moment, like not coming called down. Keith Lee and Undisputed Era are like my favorites over there.
Yeah, right and now. You can tell that the people in the back are getting behind Keith Lee. They let him pin a former champion. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know we are kind of like stale on Seth Rollins, but he still holds a lot of weight in the back. So for Keith Lee to be able to get the call to be able to pin him, like just clean out pin 1, 2, 3, I feel like that's a really big deal, and I think it shows how they also view Keith Lee possibly going forward if he stays healthy.
And I also do. I would honestly, instead of having Damian Priest in this match, I don't really know much about him. I'd rather have had Dominik Dijakovic because I really like him. His match with
he tweeted about that.
His Keith Lee matches have been fantastic. So if you haven't checked out, go back and watch NXT. That since I thank God I came to USA because now that I'd watch it, those matches with Dominic Dijakovic and Keith Lee are great to watch. But yes, that gave Roman Reigns the win, sole survivor of Team SmackDown, therefore bringing the count to 3 victories for NXT, 2 for SmackDown, and 1 for Team Raw. But yeah, that was a great match. Any thoughts about that for you?
I really enjoyed this match more than I actually thought I would because I didn't really care much about SmackDown or Raw. To be honest, it really was all for NXT for me. But they really did get to showcase a good portion of the match. I don't think as well. It wasn't as evenly proportioned as with the women's match, but this match did give people some shine. Again, at the end, I love how strong they made Keith Lee look. Again, interfering himself into Braun Strowman's around the ring world, whatever. I don't know if there's a name for that.
Yeah.
And to like interfere himself to, I think he was keeping someone from NXT from being bulldozed because I think they were on the other side of that apron, and that was pretty cool. And to one again have
maybe
hmm?
Might have been saving Ciampa again.
Probably
Ciampa's on that side.
And then to get the pin on Seth and to get a good maybe solid 3 minutes in with Roman Reigns to where it wasn't just a quick Superman punch and he was out. They were going at it for a little bit to where even, I mean, I'm pretty sure he probably had Roman's respect beforehand, but to showing in the ring that he was like, man, you got my respect, dude. You got this. Yep. So that was pretty cool for me. This was kind of Keith Lee's kind of like shining moment, being a WWE talent for me in this match.
But unfortunately, he didn't get to do all the cool stuff he normally does in the ring, like the leapfrog that I talk about, and he did the one what do you call it, springboard, not springboard, but like the what do you call it, like the pullback over the top double splash kind of thing. That body, that was cool. But
and
slingshot body
and
splash.
They might have wanted to reserve him a little bit, because they did go through a brutal war games just the night before. Plus, I mean, I know Adam Cole had a full on match, but I'm pretty sure if he wasn't champion and he was on like a tag match, they probably would have protected him too. But yeah, it was pretty nice. But and I'm also glad that it wasn't the Roman Reigns show, as it sometimes we know they can kind of let loose on that, but that was because they actually kept Roman Reigns pretty
outside the ring,
isolated. They kept actually I feel like everyone on the Raw actually just got a punch on Roman at some point.
Also, but with that said, now with that loss, Raw has been pretty much eliminated from winning the event because now they're stuck with 1 point, and even if they win the last match, they'll only get 2 points. So far, NXT has the lock for at least winning or tying for the end of the night results. SmackDown has 2 points, so they can actually tie NXT with the final match Alicia will be talking about in just a minute. But before that, we did have a match that lasted about a minute. Not really. It was like 8 minutes. But it's probably one of my favorite matches of the night. I really enjoyed this. It was the WWE Championship represented held by Brock Lesnar, defending against Rey Mysterio. Like Rey Mysterio said, it's been like 15 years since they last fought each other. And so as soon as Brock got into the ring, the bell rang. Rey got out of the ring, grabbed the metal bar that he attacked him with on Raw the week prior to it. Brock out of the ring, finally got back into the ring and just destroyed Rey Mysterio. I mean, destroyed him. And like he just kept destroying him over and over. I don't think Rey got many attacks and maybe a few shots in. Until Dominic ran out with a white towel. And you think he's going to throw in the towel, but you don't really throw in the towel from inside the ring, Dominic. You got to throw it in from outside the ring. That's why it's called throwing in the towel, not dropping in the towel or whatever you want to call it. So Brock took the towel, threw it out, and then was about to hit Dominic, but then Rey Mysterio came from behind and gave Brock the low blow. Then Dominic gave him the low blow. They kicked him into the corner, or onto the ropes, into the middle rope, and then Dominic and Rey Mysterio looked at each other, and we had a great moment with them both doing... I was so nervous because I was like, oh, can Dominic do the 619? But I guess they hit a, what was that, like a 1238, because they hit two 619s, so it was a 619, so 1238, and it was very well done, and then Dominic got a little shaky going to the top. He did like a weird frog splash, kind of like a Sasha Banks frog splash, just not as bad as Sasha Banks. And then Rey Mysterio did the better frog splash, and then they both pinned him together. Because I was like, oh wow, they should pin him together. That's the only way they could probably pin Brock. But even better, Brock kicked out of that, so that was great to see. And then he destroyed both of them because they both had to go to the top. he suplexed Dominic off the top, basically suplexed Ray off the top into a F5. 1, 2, 3. There's your winner. And I love seeing that because I was like, just shut down Rey Mysterio. Like, I like Rey Mysterio and I like seeing Dominic do well, but like I love Brock, and it's just so funny when he like destroys people. And the fact that they had the chance of winning and he still kicked out of it and destroyed them, I loved it. I loved it. So there's your winner and still champion Brock Lesnar. Any thoughts, Alicia?
It was fine. You know my feelings on Brock. He doesn't need the championship to beat Brock Lesnar, but it is what it is. I thought it was pretty funny because as me and Joe were watching it, I was like, hasn't they been saying Dominic's been training? I was like, what is he doing? I was like, it's no disqualifications, just do something. And then that's when we had Ray going with the low blow, and then Dominic
Yeah.
followed with the low blow, and then for the double 619. So I was like, finally, jeez. Um, so I was glad to see Dominic finally do something because I feel like if you're training to be in this ring, you show me something, you know. So that was cool. It would have been cool to see Ray get one more championship before he does eventually retire. But that may be coming down the line, possibly. Who knows? Maybe at Mania, but I don't know. This match was just fine to me. It was, like I said, it was just cool to see Dominic finally do something. But I will say it does seem like Brock is having fun with this um interaction or with this storyline, so to speak. So I don't think it's over for these three. So
Oh,
we'll see what happens.
I say 4 because I think Cain Velasquez might
Well,
get
yeah,
involved, and that's going to help him win. 3 versus 1 is the only way they're going to put.
I thought he was gonna come out with Dominic at this
Yeah,
match, but maybe they're saving that for something down the line.
yeah, that's what I think. Um, I think like maybe Brock will go a little too much over on him in TLC if they have a rematch, and he'll go overboard, and then Kane will come out to save him, and then maybe Ray will get the roll up or something, maybe something like that. Maybe we'll see. But that brings us to the final match of the evening. We're going to the final match with NXT 3 points, 3 points, SmackDown 2 points, and Raw pretty much eliminated with 1 point. So the best they can do is tie SmackDown, and the best SmackDown can do is tie NXT. NXT can win flat out too, though, if they win. So that brings us to the final triple threat champions match, where the NXT is represented by the NXT Women's Champion, Shayna Baszler. SmackDown is represented by the SmackDown Women's Champion, Bayley, and Raw is represented by the Raw Women's Champion, the Man, Becky Lynch.
Right. It was actually funny because I think because me and Joe were doing like our own little predictions before each match, and I kept saying that their names remind me of a law firm like Baszler, Bailey, and Lynch attorneys.
That is very true.
I just thought that was funny. This was my most anticipated match of the night, and it it's almost like a bittersweet that they got to main event, but because this, much like WrestleMania, the card is so long that by the time we get to the end, a lot of the fans are exhausted. So I feel like a lot of the fans weren't giving this match its true justice, because we do have one of the most dominant NXT women on the roster ever, in my opinion, in Shayna Baszler, who is probably the most successful um I guess MMA background to currently in the last couple of years
Second to
MMA
Rousey,
person
yeah.
to wrestler transition. Um and then we have Bailey with her new transformation, and then we just have Lynch being the man that she's been these last year or two. And it it kind of got off on a good start. I believe we had they they tried to push Bailey off to the side, Lunch and Baszler, as because I guess those two feel they're those who are the more threat to each other, so to speak. And I guess that's been Bailey's whole deal this whole time as well, is that you don't respect me, even though, like she said, she's the only one who's held all three women's titles between the three, because Charlotte has to. Never mind, I can't forget about Charlotte. But that was kind of the storyline of the match, of it being Baszler and Lynch, but with Bailey coming back in to sort of like, I guess in a way, her being the underdog in the situation to prove that she deserves to be in that ring, and ultimately it would be her downfall because I believe we get Shayna knocking out Becky onto the outside mat, and then oh no, it was Bailey knocking out Becky to the outside mat, but then Shayna coming up behind her to get her in a how do you say, coquina clutch?
That's
Refuta clutch?
they call it
Refuta?
I don't know what they call it. It's a rear naked choke. Basically, a rear naked choke.
Yeah, okay. On to Bailey. I thought that they would have her do the whole Bailey's gonna pass out just to keep her a little bit strong, but they do have her tapping out, which I don't think makes Bailey look weak because the storyline that they were trying to get through is that Bailey can hold her own with these two, which she was doing. But the real narrative, I guess, from this is Shayna versus Becky, which is the more murky card because while Shayna gets the win for NXT and for the match. Um, Ultimately, it's Becky who's standing tall because she attacks Baszler as she's celebrating on the announce team, um, and gives her the leg drop off the announce from the ring barricade to the announce team and to showing her she still runs the effing show, as she said, her words, not mine, still the man. I wasn't quite sure how I felt about the ending. Um, Again, I feel like the crowd's lack of enthusiasm, pretty kind of put a damper on this match. Even though I still thoroughly enjoyed it, and I feel like we could have given Shayna her moment still without having Becky um attack her. I just didn't understand. Well, I guess I do understand because it's still to showcase Becky, but she could have came back on Raw and be like, "You still didn't beat me,"
Yeah.
so to speak. But either way, it may not be the match tonight, but it was a pretty darn good one. And the fact that they gave NXT the overall win was a shocker to
Yeah.
me. Um, but I think it also shows how much they want to also build their brand to be equal
Right.
to SmackDown and Raw.
Yeah, I thought. Yeah, so with that said, that gave NXT 4 points, SmackDown 2 points, and Raw 1 point. I really thought I would see Bailey kind of like reverse it, a la Bret Hart on. I think he did it to Rowdy Piper when Rowdy Piper had the sleeper hold. Bret Hart ran up the turnbuckle and like turned into a pin kind of thing. I kind of thought I would see that with Bailey, but we didn't, like a reversal into a pin. But like, she was kind of locked up because her legs are around her too as well, like a true rear naked choke. But they kind of did make Bailey look scaredy cat for like a lot of the match. Like I thought it was kind of stupid, but but it was kind of sloppy too. Like I said, there's parts of the match were like miscommunication and stuff like that. Maybe they're just not used to working with each other or something like that. So what else? I don't know. I wasn't really impressed with the match, and I hate I had to bring back to the last match too. I think Randy Orton was the only non NXT member in the previous match too. So both NXT men and women's match had one old school person, I guess you can call it, and the rest being NXT call ups eventually. But another thing is that like, did they do this just to be like, oh, we gotta have another women's main event kind of thing? Like this was, I think, the marquee match on the card. Don't get me wrong. Like I mean, to sell the card, I should say. Because Daniel Bryan versus Fiend, we probably pretty much all know the Fiend's gonna win. And like Brock versus Ray, I don't think that can be considered a marquee match. This was definitely the best selling card match, but I don't think it lived up to what it should have. I think the main event of WrestleMania lived up better to it. Better to like what being it's a first ever women's thing, but like I said, I hate when they say that, like when the 5-on-5 women's match in the beginning, with like Team SmackDown, Team NXT, like first ever 5-woman triple threat. I'm like, why do they got to say this? Like what? Like I said, CM Punk said this on backstage, so he must be listening to this show. Like let them be be them. Like there's no need to like tag everything first ever this because obviously it's gonna be the first ever this. Say it once, that's it. I feel like you're taking it more for the company. Like you're like, oh look at us, it's the first ever time we're doing this for the women. Like that makes like it takes away from the women.
Just right. I feel like the only time it made sense was probably the War Games match, just because that felt more, it had more weight to it, and I don't think they didn't really beat you over the head with it as well. And plus, I think didn't they just bring War Games back a year or two ago?
3 years or 4 years, I think.
Really? It's been that long?
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, you watch NXT more than I do, but I'm pretty sure it has been.
Okay. But yeah.
With that said, though, like the other time I think it mattered is the women's WrestleMania. That made because that was 35 years of like dudes main eventing, right? So that's a big deal. But it was like in every other sentence, which kind of made it stupid. And like it takes away from them because like if they're like, oh look at us WWE being progressive and doing all this, which I don't mind, but they don't have to like shove it in our faces. Let them take the glory.
Especially when you were the one who controls the narrative, so you're not really being
Yeah,
progressive at
yeah.
all.
But yeah, this match, and after the fact, like she hit Shayna Baszler with the double leg drop thing and all that. That was whatever. Like I didn't really get hyped for anything there. Like I'm not really. The one thing I've been waiting for is the four horsewomen versus the four horsewomen, which I've been predicting for a while now, and I thought I'd see it here, but it didn't happen here. So maybe we'll see it at WrestleMania.
They are low key setting that up.
Yeah, because
Well, I haven't been watching Total Divas, but they've been of course Ronda's been on this season, so they've been
yeah,
kind of like from what I hear on like other podcasts listening to, they've been kind of pushing that in a little bit. And then Shayna even mentioned her in her one of her backstage with Becky, and she was like, because I think Becky was like she made Ronda tap out, and Shayna was like, I'm not Ronda,
yeah,
but I mean, it was just like a little slip in. It wasn't like anything overtly put in there, and so I do think they are still trying to low key put the plant the seed, so to speak, because I a lot of people thought Ronda was coming back at this pay-per-view as like a distraction for Becky at the very least. I never got that vibe, but a lot of people were expecting that.
yeah,
If she is coming back pretty soon, I would say more or not the more impact would be on at Royal Rumble.
yeah.
Um, and you can maybe
Then
even
make the match for
have her come
WrestleMania.
out as number 30 again. Who knows? And
Oh,
I'm
she
pretty. I
never
think
participated in Royal Rumble. Remember, she came out after.
oh yeah, that's true. But you can have her come in as like maybe number
Well, I think
30.
she's supposed to be. She's trying to have a like the whole thing on NXT. The whole told Divas is she loved to have a baby. So I
But
don't
you
know
know how
how.
Total Divas is like not
I know it's recorded ahead of time.
concurrent.
I know that, but like, it's still. Think about it. If they conceived right after WrestleMania, which is in March, she'll be ready by. She'll have the baby in like January. Can she be in shape by the end
Oh
of
no.
January? Like
I
that's
mean,
what I'm trying to say. Like
is she
it's gonna
pregnant
be.
now?
If even that's what I'm saying. If she even is, that's the thing. Like if she's
Yeah.
that's the thing, and then she might get like, I want to stay with the baby. I don't want like kind of maternity leave thing. Who knows? But it's
Yeah.
all
But I'm saying
speculation.
if the more I was just saying for the fans who thought
Yeah,
she was
yeah,
gonna be at this pay-per-view, the more impact would be
yeah,
at Royal Rumble. But yeah, but I do think they still are planting the seeds. Right now, at this point in time, um, they can't pull it off.
yeah.
Mainly because of Jessamine and Marina,
Marina
Marie,
Shafir, yeah.
or as Becky Lynch called them, Jessica and Maria. They're not ready.
That's why they never wrestle. Yeah.
You have not showed me anything from them on NXT that shows me that they are
Well,
ready.
they never show that on NXT. I think they wrestled in one match that I've ever seen.
It
So
no, they've wrestled more than one for sure because I
no,
remember
that I've
talking to
seen like I'm actually
oh
real
okay
TV.
because
Yeah,
I legit talked to Jones like have they even won a match? What they have not. So they're not ready. So they can't pull that off right now. But
so
it's
yeah,
like give them some wins. I think that's the one thing that's also holding them back is that or maybe they legit just aren't ready. But you need to showcase those two to be an actual threat because right now if you put Charlotte, Becky, Bailey, and
and Sasha.
Sasha against those four, they should wipe the floor with them.
Yeah, but
Theoretically.
but they might show that like Shayna and Ronda are such a powerhouse that they could take two v one them kind of thing
Yeah.
each.
But if you're gonna if you're going to sell me a four horsemen versus four horsemen match, I need to see proof that these two teams can actually even go at it. I mean, I know Ronda and Baszler on their own can take them, but
Yeah.
I I need to see
Or
Jessamine.
maybe they're setting up for the first ever intergender four horse man match, and they want to sell that eventually, and they'll have like Ric Flair and Arn Anderson and all those guys come back.
Oh
And
gosh, I think that would probably be the day I shut WWE off.
all right, well, with that said, we want to congratulate NXT for winning the night. They won 4 points, like we said, to 2 points to 1 point over SmackDown and Raw, respectively. So congratulations to them and selling them as a force to be reckoned with, I guess. With that said, we're going to go to our now finishers, and I'm going to ask Alicia what her low point, high point, and overall grade was.
I think low point might just be the triple threat women's match not reaching its full potential. Just because we know what each individually what these three can bring to the table. I just feel like that wasn't fully fleshed out. Again, like you said, it could just be from these three not actively being able to work with each other. Um, Quite often in the ring on the mics, they have more practice with that. And so if we see this come down the line a second time, some other type of triple threat match, so to speak, although it looks like they might be going more towards Becky and Shayna, we'll have a better showing of that. High point is the showcasing of NXT. You know how much I love NXT. It's one of my favorite wrestling programs for going on right now. Um, I look forward to that show each and every week. So the fact that they got to be showcased at such a high level on the quote unquote main pay per view, quote unquote big, oh not, I guess not quote unquote, but the big four especially, I think that is pretty outstanding. And the fact that they all got to shine, I just love that. And overall grade, I think I'm gonna give this a B minus. To while some matches didn't fully live up to what they could have been, I actually really did fully enjoy myself. I A lot of times there's usually like some matches like, oh, this is a let me go to the bathroom, do my chores or whatever type of match. I don't think there was one of those on the card. I think they all sort of delivered on what they were trying to put forth. So B minus.
Um, so yeah, for me, my low point also I would have to say is the women's the main event because like I said they didn't live up like it was very sloppy. It didn't live up to what it could have been. But I also had to throw in just to make it a little bit different. I'll throw in like that Shinsuke didn't win because he really fought well. The best we've seen him in a long time. So I really thought he should have won that. My high point was actually that match too. Roderick Strong, AJ Styles, and Shinsuke. That was a great match. I can say it's a phenomenal match because AJ was in it. So, but yeah, like I said, like watching all these NXT guys and girls wrestle, that was great to see too. Like, I don't think they had their moments like they could have, like how like when they have like a battle royal, everyone does like their finisher kind of thing, that kind of thing. Um, but they did shine and they did win the night. So kudos to them for that. Overall grade, I'm gonna give it an A. Like you said, like there wasn't anything bad. Like there wasn't anything bad. Like that you wanted to like walk away. Maybe for the pre-show, maybe because like we're so used to the pre-show just being a throwaway thing. But I think even the pre-show wasn't bad at all. Like it's actually pretty good. I'm gonna go back and watch that cruiserweight match that you're talking about. But other than that, it was actually a pretty good card. Over from match 1 to 10. So I rarely give A's out. Like I think the last time I did was SummerSlam 2018 maybe. Um, or maybe a Survivor Series 2018. But one of those double S's was an A also. Um, but yeah, like it was really fun to watch, and I think I usually don't like Survivor. I like Survivor Series, but I don't like it the fact that they always do champion versus champion, and it's so stale because it's always Raw versus SmackDown. Why don't they just do that Clash of Champion kind of thing? Because actually, where champions are clashing, that would make more sense. Um, but now I think they call it Night of Champions. What I don't know what they call it nowadays. Who knows what they call it? But whatever it is, it's just let's. This was a lot fresher because NXT Thank was a breath of life, breath of fresh air, I should say, into this night. So that's why I gave it an A. Yeah. So with that said, let's go ahead and talk. Alicia, where can we find you, and what do you have coming up?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at DeliciaRenee, and you can find us talking more in depth about wrestling later on in December, I believe the 23rd.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. If not, you could just stick to our Twitter to know for sure. To where me and my co-host Nicole and Kyle and we will be doing a more in-depth look of wrestling. Probably focusing more on this year, but it's kind of like the state of wrestling as it stands today or as of December 23rd that day. Um, but we just get a chance to talk about more than just WWE. Now that it is for everyone, we can talk about AEW, we can talk about NXT, we can talk about Impact, we can talk about ROH, New Japan, whatever you guys want to talk about. We can talk. We get to talk more about it because we'll be talking about wrestling as a whole and how our fandoms have sort of changed over the years. So, as even if you guys have heard here, we've had our qualms with WWE, but now we have a lot more access to other different programs that we've been able to check out. So we'll be able to review those companies as a whole and to give a more in-depth conversation of what we think of wrestling and the state of wrestling as a product and also the fandom of wrestling in and of itself, to sort of like cap off the year kind of reflect on things as we come. Can't believe it, as we're closing in on 2020.
Yeah. And like it's a good time to do it because all the pay per views will be ended by then. Raw will be having, I mean, not Raw. WWE will be having its last pay per view in TLC, which we'll be talking about coming up in a second. AEW will be having their final pay per view of the summer of the year. And then I don't know about Impact what they do, but yeah. So basically, we'll just talk about the whole year of wrestling and how things change. Because now we have like different brands battling not only within the WWE universe but outside of that too. So it's nice to see that after talk about all that stuff. And maybe before it, if you guys are up for it, I'll direct a question to you, Nicole. Like, do you want me to start a Twitter poll or Twitter thing where people could throw their questions at you guys to say like,
Yeah, I was
what
actually
do you want to
just
see?
about to say that. One, there's two questions that I wanted to ask that we're going to put a poll out on, and also if you guys have any questions that you want us to address about wrestling as a fandom or wrestling in general, you can tweet at me, you can tweet at Cal, or you can tweet at them. I mean, put them in the chat when we go live, so we can also address it there. So we just want it to be a full on conversation about wrestling because that's why me, Cal, Nikki, and all of us got together. It's because of wrestling. I was not the main reason why me and Cal got together, but why we started the show is because we love wrestling. We've been wrestling fans since we were children, and it's changed a lot. Some for the good and some for not so good, but we want to talk about it.
Yeah. And as for me, you can find me over here on the Kingslayer Network on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 4 p.m. Eastern, playing games. Mostly Mondays and Wednesdays, I'll be doing Shenmue 3. Friday, I'll be doing Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. But remember, Mondays will be preempted when we have After Talk or After Mat. Speaking of the next Aftermat, will be available on 12/16, so December 16th, right above us. After we see Tables, Ladders, and Chairs, the final pay per view for WWE for the year, which will be on Saturday, December 15th. So then you'll see us on the 16th after that. But all that after a good night of Star Wars Series, I hope it carries over to the next pay per view, and we'll see what happens with that. But until then, guys, remember to keep slamming the haters and be the champion of your dreams. And we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Finding life along the way, melodies we haven't played. No, I don't want no rest. Echoing around these walls, fighting to create a song. I don't wanna miss a beat. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands.